Good evening, everybody. It's Joy. How are you tonight? It's Sunday night. Hopefully you're catching me live. If not, then I'll see you on the replay. Hopefully you've had a great Sunday, a great weekend. I got a lot of stuff done, and I'm hoping that you did the same. So if you're on here, say hi. Let me know that you're here. Right now, I guess you could say I'm really excited. I'm a couple weeks into owning Prickley Pear stamps. This was a new adventure for my husband and I, and we are rolling with the punches. We are trying to figure things out, and this is the first time that I've gotten to go live since owning the company. So bear with me. As you might have guessed from the title, it was Hey Girl Hey. I'm going live on Sunday, and my original plan was to use the Hey Girl Hey stamp set, which we will use. I'm sorry, is that? Yeah. Hey Girl Hey stamp set. We're going to use that as a sentiment, but I'm ultimately going to go with the Chicken Gal Pals. Hey Jay, hi Michelle, hi Sharon, Brennan, how are you? Linda, thank you. I'm hanging in there. So while we're waiting for people to jump on, I just wanted to talk about some tools that we have at the Prickley Pear store. So this is the magnetic die holder. It does come in two pieces in case you travel. I actually use some E6000 on mine because I do not ever plan on traveling with it. I even cheated and put some Velcro on the back of mine because I leave it adhered to my desk. That way I don't push it off. I'm a very messy crafter. So I tend to, everything starts to creep in like within 6 inches, and then I push it and then it goes flying off the desk. So this, I do Velcro to my desk. That might sound silly. So this is super strong. And what I like about it is if you have these dies on your desk, I don't even know what these dies go to, but say you can't find it because you've got that pile, you can just rub it along your desk and it picks up. So this is like one of the best tools that I have on my desk, and like I said, it is Velcroed. The next tool that I use all the time is the High Nerdy Crafter, is the Barrel Cactus, and this is made especially for Prickley Pear, and it's got art colors. So this comes in teal, green, and purple. I'll have to check the stock to see if we have any more of that, but this piece unscrews and then it holds all the different pieces. Another must-have that I have in the store is this stopper. So this not only will hold your pen, but if you don't want to use a pin, you can put this over the top of your fine needlepoint tip. I always store mine when I'm not using it with the pin in, but it just goes like this. And then here is my favorite. So I'm going to move on to some stamping. And then we'll get into another tool of mine. So we're going to start with this Chicken Girl Pals. And it comes with 4 different chickens. And it comes with the hay and some little chicks. And then I love this chicken wire. Now I am going to use the chicken wire background stamp later on, so we're not going to use that piece. So you can tell I've already used these stamps because I cut them out ahead of time so that we didn't have to bring my big platinum machine over to my desk. So I always use a MISTI, and I have the nifty Waffle Flowers photopolymer plate in there, and I like it because if it's clean, everything sticks to it, so you can stencil on it, you can stamp on it, so it takes the place of your magnet. So now we're moving into my next favorite tool that we carry in the store, and that's our stamp press. And here we go. It slides very nicely over the MISTI, and you get a good impression every time. But say you didn't and you needed to put more ink down, since you've got that photopolymer mat in there, you can go right back down just like you do with a magnet. Now the other thing that I really like about this kind of a tool, now we're going to pretend that I've scored this, but I haven't. So say you have not a very good score, you can rub this right over your paper and you get the perfect score line every time, and it doesn't leave any marks on your paper. The same thing goes if you are gluing things down. So let's just put a bead of glue down. Now this is just a test run, right? So we don't care. So now, no matter what kind of liquid glue that you use, you can rub this over that and you get a great adherence, no warping of your paper or anything like that. So that is my 2 cents worth on the stamp press. This is got high quality felt on it, so if this gets dirty, all you have to do is take a sand eraser like your Mono Tombow, and you can clean that off, or you can use a dry, the dry erase, magic erasers, and that'll take that right off too. So there's that. So like I had said, I had already stamped and die cut our chickens. So I've got 2 chickens. I don't know how I ended up with 3 little nest areas, but let's hold off on the coloring because I know some people like to watch coloring and others don't. Sharon, yeah, I like using these stamp presses for a lot of things, and Lisa, you're right, these are so super shiny. Now, do you want to see something else that's super shiny, and I just love this? And I'm not trying to plug this, it's just that these are all new toys for me. This is our brush holder. So you can see that I'm using it for more than just brushes. So this is on a Lazy Susan, so it makes it very accessible if you've got multiple things. But in this top compartment, it's a little bit bigger. So I've got my Tim Holtz scissors, I've got my Teflon bone folder, and I have a crafter's wand. And then of course I've got my rabbit hole brushes because these are my absolute favorite. And then this is my biggest secret of the night. And I don't even sell this in the store, but this is just how much I really, really love this product. So we all have those gel pens because we like to put the highlights in our projects, right? Well, they always skip, am I right? And a lot of times they don't work. So I was watching, see, this was in my garbage, so don't pay attention to my mess. But this is a Una Posca pen. And you have absolutely no skipping at all, and it gives you the perfect highlights and whatnot. And I just love that. So I always store that in my brush holder as well. So it's right here on my desk. Since it's a paint pen, I typically do store it upside down just so that it doesn't dry out. All right. So I'm going to work on the background first, and I am using a glass mat. You could use any type of craft mat that you want. So we're going to pretend that we're in a chicken coop. Yeah, CJ, I have seen your desk. I think I've seen things fly off of your desk a few times. So you and I we're like kin. So I haven't given my Catherine Fuller inks a whole lot of love lately. So I pulled out Sandcastle, Over Coffee, and then Oh Boy. And this is going to make kind of the hay of our scene. I may use some Over Coffee, I'm not sure, it might be too dark. And then the Oh Boy is going to be our sky. So does anybody have a hard time with blending dye inks? Anybody? So I've had, at different retreats I've been to, I've had people say, man, I can't get this to blend. Or I can't get a good blend. First of all, dye inks, they sink into the paper and they smooth out over time, right? But if you want a little bit of a trick, if you use any sprayer, I use my Distress sprayer because it's always next to my desk. You can see it's well loved. I give it one simple burst of water. And that sort of just primes your brush. And I do make sure to clean off my desk so it's not sopping wet. And I am using my Oh Boy, and I'm going to start with the sky. let me pull in an oven mat. And the reason I'm doing an oven mat is because it's silicone, so you're not going to hear that scraping across my paper. So with a blending brush, if you hold it back on the handle, you're going to get a really light blend. See how I'm just barely getting any ink down? If you hold it up by the barrel or by the head, you're going to get a much heavier blend, much quicker. Now, I am a lazy crafter by nature, and I like instant gratification. So I tend to hold it up by the head of the brush. But if you have a really heavy hand, then by all means, you need to hold it back on the pedal. Or I'm sorry, back on the handle. And so now I'm kind of back on the handle here, and I'm going on a lighter. So I'm just kind of tapping, and I'm blending that down into white. So Jay, I don't know what inks that you use. I think we've talked about this slightly. If you use a reactive ink like Distress Oxides, those are made up of, a pigment and a dye ink, and they get different colors as you have them, react with water. So you'll want to be very careful, and you'd want to try that on a separate piece of paper. Otherwise, you may get a blend that you don't like when you mist it. So this is very specific to me talking about dye inks to prime your brushes. And if you don't have time to keep going over your ink, then by all means, then try the misting, but try it on a separate piece of paper. So I always clean off my glass mat before I move on to the next thing. So you see my sky. I love Catherine Puller inks too. I don't give them a lot of love. I always have Distress inks and Distress Oxides inks on my desk for whatever reason. I figured I'd get them out, so I have, a combination of the minis and of the full size. So now I'm using Sandcastle. And I'm starting off my paper and blending onto it. That way I'm not getting those harsh brush lines. And again, I'm just trying to blend that up nicely, and I'm leaving some white space. And I'm going to start to concentrate this down at the bottom of the page so that we get an ombre effect. Now, depending on what look you're going for, definitely, keep working it. It's fine, however you like it. Hey, Judy, how's the storm? Did it finally pass? And is the smoke gone from your area? Because I know that you said the wildfires from Canada were blowing in, and it was hard to breathe, and that's miserable. Oxide should be on their own brushes versus the regular Distress absolutely. So that's a really good point. In fact, give me just 1 second. I'm going to disappear for a second so now you can see my mess behind me. So Lisa brought up the point that you should have 2 brushes. So these are still my rabbit hole design brushes. But you can see that this has a short little marker on it. Those indicate my Distress inks or any of my dye inks. I don't really differentiate between dye inks and Distress inks on my brushes. But for my oxides, you can see that this has a longer tag to it. And I bought these on Etsy a long time ago, and I've got those held in place with some E6000. I'm an E6000 girl, so I definitely do that. Now for my actual pigment inks, which are my VersaFine Clair inks, I have a whole nother set, and those are rainbow brushes. I use those about twice a year, so I'm not too worried about the quality of brush. But I will always scream from the mountain, from the mountaintop, that I love the rabbit hole brushes. In fact, speaking of the rabbit hole, is anybody going to be at the Mesa, Arizona Scrapbook Expo this weekend? I have the opportunity to demonstrate for the Rabbit Hole Designs and for Pear Blossom Press So I will be there for the 2 days of, hi Joni, I'm so glad I get to see you. I might be staying with you. Anyway, so I will be there demonstrating for those 2 companies, which I'm super excited about. And then in the meantime, the Rabbit Hole Designs is also a sponsor. I'm sorry, not the Rabbit Hole Designs. Geez, I don't know who I'm talking about. Prickley Pear is going to be sponsoring a retreat that's going on at the same time as the expo. So we were very nicely able to give out 30 stamps and dies to the participants. And then I'm going to maybe have a pop-up store. So super excited about that, to get the Prickley Pear name out. And then I go to Burbank, California, and I'm going to a retreat in Burbank, where I have also sponsored another group of, I think it's 300. I might be wrong. No, I lied. 160 people. So I'm going to be able to introduce another 160 people, plus some representatives from other companies, to Prickley Pear. So I'm so excited about that. I mean, God is just working such in big ways for me and for Prickley Pear. And then from there, what else are we doing? And then we've got Kendra's Card Challenge that we are sponsoring. I think it's challenge number 12. And they're going to do a hop for us. So, man, we are getting the name out. This is just going to be an awesome, awesome ride. And I can't thank Sharon enough for giving me the opportunity to take the helm over, the proverbial helm. So now I am using the chicken wire background. Now you definitely could leave this on a backer. And probably I would have if it weren't for the video. So I'm making sure that this is stuck to my glass board mat. That's why I like the glass mat, whether it's a Tim Holtz or if it's a We Are. This is Glassboard Studios. I like that because everything sticks to it, and you don't have to have multiple kinds of mats. In fact, mine is magnetic. Yep. Yeah, I know you're a little bit biased, Jay. I see a lot of your posts for Kendra. Now I'm using Twilight ink from Catherine Puller. And I'm not too worried about what my coverage is on that, because this is just going to be an element in my background. And I'm trying to find a piece of paper. There we go. So you could put this in your Misty. I'm a fly by the seat of your pants kind of girl. So I just lay it down, put another piece of paper down so that I don't dirty my hands, or in this case, my stamp press. Lift that up, and bam! Now we've got some chicken wire, and we've like the chickens. If they were looking, we would have to see their backsides, right, for this to be realistic, but to be like they were looking out into the world. But we're gonna go with it. So that is how simple a background can be. I know that a lot of times we get so stuck into, oh gosh, how do I make this background? Do I make this huge scene? Do I? And the answer is no, you don't have to. All you need to do is give a really cool illusion of a background. Hi, how do I say your name? Is Aladala? I don't know. I'm saying that so wrong. I apologize. That and my vision's terrible looking at the screen. So here we go. Let's get into the coloring. So we're going to cheat with this cute little thing. I think we're going to do her white. So whenever you have a white object, it's not really white. There's always shadows. So whenever I do critters of any type, I try to do like a warm gray. And the reason I do the warm gray is I kind of think of fur. I kind of think of the dust that they would be laying in, that kind of thing. Maybe I'm overthinking this. You absolutely could use your neutral grays or your cool grays, but I keep the cool grays more for my inanimate objects like metal. That's just me, but you could do whatever makes you happy. Now, my friend Dale Ledoux makes these Copic stands, and he was very nice to give me one of those. This is one of his prototypes. They've changed a little bit, but those are in here. So we're going to put my glasses on because I need to be able to see not only what I'm... Dallas. Thanks, Dallas. Thank you. Thank you for forgiving me for butchering your name, because I know that I did. So I'm going to do her comb, and I don't know, I don't know what those were called. I'm going to do that in red. I always do my reds last because reds tend to smear and bleed. Now, if you're hearing little footprints, my little Yorkies are in the room, and they're just making themselves known. And just, sometimes you might hear a bird scream or say hello or call somebody a nerd, especially if they hear my friend Amanda, who happens to be the nerdy crafter. She might say nerd or she might say hello, but, there we go. So these are her top feathers, but it also kind of looks like a cape. So I am giving that a really good shadow. Typically when I color, I like to go with my shadow the light source being in the top right, but we're going to pretend it's in the center today just to keep the coloring easy. So where the eyelids kind of fold over, I'm giving that a cast shadow. And there's going to be a little bit of a cast shadow there, and where this beak is. And where this wing overlaps the tail feather, that's what I'm calling it, there's going to be another one. So, a lot of colorists will teach you to go with your lightest color to darkest. I actually go darkest to light. Every once in a while, I will break my rules. So I also put one in there because I think that there would be a nice shadow. And there's going to be a shadow there where that curlicue is. So far we've got some really simple coloring. And I think I'm going to put some coming in on each side just to give the face a little bit of dimension. And then we're moving on to the W3. So that was the W5. That's what I call the scary light. Do you guys need me to zoom in at all? BB's feathers have not grown in. She's got some down feathers. She's very naked still. But we're getting there. I mean, she's been on her hormone shots for about 3 months. And she's starting to calm down, and she's not picking as much. We'll see how she does when I start traveling again next week. Or actually this week, in like 2 days. We'll see where she goes. But my husband's here, and, she should be fine. And now I'm going to kind of round this off down here. And that's all I'm going to do for that W3, because that is the mid-tone color, which typically by a mid-tone, is that zoomed in enough, Sharon, or do I need to go more? How about that? All right. So the mid-tone would be your middle color or the true color of the object. In this case, probably the W1 would be more of the color, just because, even though it's my highlight color, because I'm doing a white chicken. So I'm just kind of filling this in. And if you don't have Copics, if you have Olos or you have a Hoo-Hoo, or even if you do Tombos or, anything that's not alcohol based, it's still the same idea. I mean, you can still take what you're seeing me teach today, and you can still use any medium you have, even if you have good old Crayolas. This is just a good way to kind of get your feet wet and do some simple coloring. Now for this tail feather, I'm doing a little bit more of shading. And I'm going to call that done for the body. We might come back in and change that, but I don't think so. All right. My favorite colors for a red, and this is my tried and true colors all the time, is I like an R59, a 4.6, a 2.9, and a 2.4. And the R59 is very far off as far as how dark it is. But the scary dark is what makes something look three-dimensional. And it lets the lights shine through. So there's going to be a shadow where the eyes, kind of the top of the head, kind of overlap. So I'm kind of putting in that shadow. I'm putting a shadow in around the curlicue. Now guys, this is just card making. And I know that I take my coloring pretty serious most of the time. But do you ever give a card to someone and says, oh, this is just terrible? And let me tell you, if you're giving a card to someone who's going to judge everything you're doing, I don't know that I would even be giving them a handmade card. I mean, everybody that I've ever given a card to, no matter what my skill level is, they have been over the moon over just getting a card and knowing that there's something in the mail besides a bill, right? So no matter what your skill level is, no matter what you're coloring with, just get it out there. Start a blog or put yourself up on Instagram. And I say that not because I want you guys to post all of my stuff or another company's stuff, but it's because it's a record of your progress. Like if I showed you what I started coloring 6 years ago, it was terrible. So the reason I say that is when I look at stuff that I did a year ago, like that's just terrible. I can't believe I put that out there. But there was somebody out there that thought it was magnificent. And then when I look at stuff from 7 years ago, 6 years ago, I'm embarrassed by it. But when I put it all together in a timeline somewhere, then I can see my progress. And the biggest thing that I think that we can do to keep our minds sharp is to learn. So anytime you invest any amount of time into yourself and to others, not only are you learning and are you blessing, but you're blessing somebody else, but you're also blessing yourself as well, because you're keeping your mind sharp, you are practicing a new skill, and it's just, it feels good, I started coloring because it kind of was therapy for me. I had a pretty catastrophic event happen in my life, which maybe someday I'll share about, but today is not the day. And I started making cards as a way to get over myself and to get over our situation. I never thought it was going to be, I'm going to be on a design team, or, I'm going to be giving this away, or, oh my goodness, I'm going to own a company. Like, that was just never the reason why I did it. I did it for therapy, and I started out making cards, and it was kind of my own personal ministry. Every time I would make a card, I would pray over it. So as I was coloring or I was cutting, I would pray over it, and I would hope that God would put it in the hands of someone else, or he would give me the words to write inside of it. So during COVID, I gave, about 500 cards away to nursing homes, and I split it up by gender. And with that, I just said, God, talk to me and talk through me, use my words, use my writing. And I wrote to all these people inside these cards, and I sent it to the nursing homes, and then it turned into giving it to cancer centers and that kind of stuff. But, card making doesn't have to be because you're trying to make the best card or anything like that. You just need to get out there and do your art. my day job is very virtual. I like doing things with my hands. Okay, Jay. You're right. The red combination was an R59, a 4-6, a 2-9, and a 2-4. I added an R14 at the very top here, just for a little bit more of a highlight. Not a whole lot of highlights going on, to be honest with you there. All right, so for his beak, we're going to go with the traditional orange beak. I know that that's not anything too exciting. So when I do an orange, I always add a yellow in there. So I'm using a Y19, a YR16, and a YR18. And we'll see if I like that. We might end up changing it. But do you see this? I am just throwing this color down. I'm not doing anything. There's no, we're not doing any special strokes. We're not doing any special techniques. We're just getting this down here today. Now I am taking this YR18. See, I just broke my own rule. I told you that I normally start with my darkest color. But the reason I did the yellow first is because I want that to pop through. So the thing about Copic markers or any type of alcohol ink is that they are translucent and they build on top of each other. And so if you put down a yellow and then you put a darker color, you'll still get those pops and you'll build those colors. So it's kind of equivalent to like if you're using colored pencils on craft paper and you put down a white first and then you color over it. So you get that, so those colors start to pop. So that's just kind of how I think of it. Do you see how I'm leaving that kind of open there? I am going to go back over that with the Y19. Now this is what's funny about this, with these being different colors, is the Y19 is the most saturated color out of all of these. We're using the 10 family, right? So they have the same amount of, I'm going to get this wrong, the same amount of pigment level, but they have more drops of alcohol in it. So the 19 will be your darkest color. But do you see how that yellow is popping right through that? I don't know. I don't think that helped. I think I went out of focus. All right. We can see your bird. Which bird are we talking about? Are we talking about my one on the screen, Joni, or are we talking about my one that's downstairs that's behaving very nicely? Someday. Hi, Tammy. All right. So Prickly Pear's colors are blue and purple and a little bit of teal, and I might throw some lime green in there every once in a while in some of the graphics because that's my favorite color. So we're going to do her wings purple because why not? I want to stick with the company colors. So I sometimes uncap both of my lids and sometimes I don't. I specifically uncap both lids if I have just refilled my markers and I'm trying to prevent that blob. And if I have just gotten off an airplane because the pressure change sometimes causes those to blob. And honestly, I can't remember if I have used my purple since I've traveled last. So I made sure to take my lids off. So if I've just filled my markers or if I know that I've traveled, then I definitely take both lids off. Now, if you're in a dry climate like California, Arizona, something like that, you probably would not ever want to take your lids off just because they're going to evaporate way too soon. But where I live, we are extremely humid all the time, which is weird because I don't live by an ocean. I don't live by anything to speak of, but we are humid. Okay, so V09 was my darkest color. Now I'm going in with the V05 or the V05. Do you remember that shampoo? I don't even know if they still make that, but I just remember Vidal Sassoon. Anyway, I'm digressing. So now I'm going right over those lines. And I'm just extending that shadow a little bit more. So over here, we've got two different patterns. So on this side, I'm extending the shadows down. And on this one, I was just going over it to make it look more like a plaid. Tammy, how are you feeling? I haven't talked to you for a while. Are you doing good? Am I going to see you sometime soon, hopefully? I've missed you. I'm going to refresh my screen here for a second to see if I've got any new comments that I'm missing. All right. So now I'm going to go in with the VO4. So I skipped the VO6. And that's just because I wanted a brighter color. Okay. So the VO4 is going to be my mid-tone color. I am going to bring in one more color. Can you hear my dog? He wants to go outside. I should probably... Here. That's a picture of my dog, who's deaf and almost blind. And we're going to have... see if my husband can let them out. This is some professional stuff going on here, guys. I mean, I have to stop the text. I mean, this is prime time real TV right here. If I don't make fun of myself, I mean, somebody else is going to. Am I right? All right, so now this is my V01. So my dog is 13 years old. He has been with me through the thick and thin. He is my buddy, and I know that he's obnoxious at times, and you guys can hear him on videos, but I will always love him, and he will be my ride or die, as well as my husband. So anyway, all right, so here's our chicken. I think he turned out pretty darn cute. All right, so I'm going to add some highlights here. And then where some of these black dots are, I'm going to just add some white. And again, this is up to you what you want to do. But do you see how nicely this goes down? I mean, you don't have to worry about it skipping. You don't have to worry about anything. And that to me, people, is like worth $1 million. Because there is nothing worse than a gel pen that doesn't work. I know that there are some good ones out on the market, but they work for like a minute and a half for me, and then they don't. And I don't have the patience for that. I'm not knocking anybody's product. It's just not my cup of tea. I want everything to work when it's supposed to work. All right, so did we freeze up? Can someone leave me a let's see here. My side is saying that I have limited who can comment, but I don't remember doing that. That's frustrating. This is when I needed, oh, help! All right, I'm just going to keep going. Because that's what you do when you're on live TV. Am I correct? Or a video? I'm making fun of myself right now. So now I'm back in with my E55. Look at me. I don't even know where my caps go. I'm just a mess. All right. So I like this texture. And let's just talk about this for a minute. Probably in the real world, that's probably what that's supposed to look like. And it's supposed to, you know, like the hair is supposed to go up fluffy. In my opinion, all right, I'm used to hearing that this is saying that commenting has been turned off. I didn't turn it off, people. Let's see. This is frustrating. It says that everybody can comment, on my side it's saying that, so I'm very, very confused. My dog is crazy. So anyway, so I'm going to, since I'm going to have her sitting on top of it, and I like that texture, it just kind of makes me happy. We're gonna do it backwards. So we're doing it opposite of what the artist drew it as, because, well, now I'm the artist. And when you're the artist, you can do what you want. So I was very lucky today. I was able to watch church today online and let my husband sleep in because he's had a really hectic schedule. And it was so cute. My cat Penny, she is just a sweet, sweet cat, but she's not always inside. She likes to roam the land per se. She came in and she was snuggling with me, and as I was watching church, she was doing what I call the high five to Jesus. She had her paw up in the air while she was like laying in my lap, and she was just like so happy. I mean, it was just the cutest thing ever. I think I shared that on Facebook. So Sharon's telling me I need to move my prop. I'm thank goodness for a text message because my comments are locked and I don't know why. I wish we could fix that. So now I'm just kind of feathering in some texture. And you have to remember that hay just kind of does what it wants to do. So I'm sort of following what the artist drew in, but I'm also kind of doing my own thing. I mean, this is just not anything, in my opinion, that you have to fuss over at this point. All right, Judy got it turned back on. I love her. Thank goodness for admins. This is why she makes the big bucks, people. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So, all right, there we go. So there is nothing big about this coloring. So now, like I said, I think that this is the way that that would normally sit. But I like it like that. So here I go. That's it. Does anybody want to see the coloring for this little girl? Thank you, Amanda. I have like 90 markers here. All right. I am going to proceed until somebody tells me to stop coloring. And I understand if this is getting too long and if you need to run, put the kiddos to bed, or maybe you just need to go to bed. I don't know. But I get it. So I'm going to use my E39. So these are more of a red color, like a red tone brown. And I am going to give this a nice layer here. And then I am just going to put some strokes in. And guys, yes, if I was coloring this for myself, for therapy purposes and not video purposes, I would be going really slow, and these strokes would be really teeny tiny, and they would look all feathered. But let's be real. None of us have time to color for 4 hours or even 2 hours, right? Sometimes we just need a card to be done. Now, if you do have the time, please do so, because, you know, I would like to see that. And when I'm, like I said, when I'm coloring for myself, that is what I do. But for videos, I am just trying to get the color in so you get the idea. And again, we've got people of all different coloring levels on here. So here I'm gonna give this a nice shadow where the eye is, and I'm gonna come this way, and I'm even gonna feather in some cheeks. Then where this gobbler is, I don't know, is that really a gobbler? It's what I'm calling it. I'm giving it a nice cast shadow. And right here where the eyes are, I'm going to give it a little bit of a shadow. Amanda, aren't these adorable? And I mean, Amanda, with your coloring, with your watercolor, I bet these would be done in like 12 seconds. I mean, you would have this down, and they would be beautiful. I mean, get out your Tombos, get out your Distress Inks, whatever it is that you like to color with. I use my Copics because I spent a fortune on them. And not only did I, you know, spend some money on them, but I also have paid to learn how to use them. So I tend to use my investment. If I had invested, you know, big time in like Daniel Smith watercolors or something like that, I would be doing Daniel Smith watercolors. Sharon, I love the chickens too. Weren't you the one that kind of came up with this idea, I think? Because you're always saying, hey girl, hey. My poor dog, he's whining. I think he wants to be in my lap, or he's got to go potty, but he so far is not heading downstairs to go potty. So this is real world stuff in my house, people. So my big date night, and I'm not kidding, was I was in my pajamas at 8:30. This is rated G, I promise. I was in my pajamas at 8:30 on Saturday, and my husband got called into work for something. I think he had to drop something off to somebody. And I rode in the car with him. And that is what our date night was. But you know, I forgot to color the rest of the face because I'm sitting here talking. So this E34 is the lightest color. So I'm going to kind of fill her face in with it, and then we can add some of the shadows. So we're just doing things a little bit backwards from the way we were doing it. Now, do you see how I left that little white stripe there? That's because I'm going to put in a highlight. So I am going to put this lightest color in, but I'm going to put it in last. So like I said, these Copic markers are buildable. So by leaving that white mark, when I finally do my last wash of color, then that's going to just be a little area of highlight. So I'm going to close it in just a little bit. And I'm feathering in some color here where the cheek is. She looks like a mess right now. So this eye back here would be in shadow. So I am going to go ahead and color that completely in with that E35. Now I'm coming in with this E37. And I'm adding just a little bit more color. All right. So it looks like a mess. your daughter said, hey girl, hey, I love that you made it to be, reflective of your daughter and your family, Sharon. And now, do you see how that colored in? And we've got a nice little highlight. So this seems like it's a little too washed. So I just added some more color. And that's what I'm saying, that you've got the capability of making these markers layer and color in how you want. Now I am going back to the reds. And we are repeating again. You love all the mediums. Which one is your favorite, Amanda? Just curious. For some reason, I'm thinking it's the Tombos. Does anybody feel sorry for my dog? So watercolor, but what watercolor, girl? What is your favorite medium of watercolor? I mean, you can't just get off that easy. I'm asking you a question for a reason. So this little gobbler on the left is going to be more in shadow than the one on the right. So I went in with my R29. So that is my next color in my red family. So I'm using R59, R29, R46, and R24. That is my go-to red. Like, you can take it to the bank that that's what I'm going to use. But as soon as you say that, then, as soon as I say that, then I'll switch it up. But I do try to use the same colors a lot so that people can get an idea of what I'm doing. All right. Now the R24. This happens, well, this is my second favorite Copic color. YG67 is my favorite color Copic. And you know how I figured that out? When I was doing Copic maintenance, which I need to do, need to make sure all my markers are refilled and are clean, like this area and in the caps. But my YG67 was almost completely busted. And it was time to order a new one. And I almost cried that I had to get rid of it. And before I would actually throw it away, even though I knew it was busted, I made sure that the YG67 was in my hand before I would throw the old one away. Even though, like I said, the old one needed to be in the garbage. I had broken the lid. I think I dropped it. I had a broken nib and it needed to be refilled. So that to me means like it's just time to start over with a new marker because it's seen better days, right? I mean, at some point you just have to do the math and say which is cheaper, which one is more cost effective, and at some point anyway, anyhow, yeah. At some point, you just have to weigh your losses, and for me, it was time to get a YG67. But until I knew that YG67 was my favorite, I thought R24 was my favorite color. R24 is, what is this thing called? Prawn. So, like a shrimp, I don't know. But it's my favorite color of all time. All right. So this here would probably be a lighter color of what we were using. So I am going to use R31. I'm going to start with an E30 and then go with a 31, and then I'll see if I want to add any more colors in there because I just want there to be a little bit of contrast from the body. Because, not all chickens are white, not all of them are red. you know, but we have all different colors. Man, some of the chickens I've seen lately around here, I've seen like they've had like some gorgeous like teals in them. They've had some like raisin colors. I mean, they're just fabulous. Like, if I didn't live in an HOA, darn that HOA, I would have chickens along with my birds and my dogs and my cats, and I don't know. I would have a hippo too. I don't know if you guys know that, but all I want for Christmas is a hippopotamus, and that is the truth. All right, so here she is. She's done. And we are going to go ahead and do another, and we're going fast. We are going to go fast on this. We're going to get this down and dirty done. I'm not even putting texture. Do you see this? Remember how I said all different levels of coloring? I mean that. So right now we're coloring like, I don't know, we learned in elementary school. Just to get that wash of color down. I want everybody to know that they can do this. If I can do it, you definitely can do it. So now I'm putting in the E55. I wish this dog would stop his little crying. The other day I was doing a video and I had my bird up here. And she was doing her heavy breathing thing. And I thought I had to get rid of her because I thought, my goodness, I'm going to be tagged on YouTube for indecent exposure here. All right, buddy, you need to go outside. Go on. Go on. Go. I mean it. Go. And he's not going to go unless I go. So we're going to continue to listen to him complain and bark. But the bird was doing this like heavy breathing thing, and I thought for sure, oh my goodness, I'm going to get tagged on YouTube for, you know, indecent content, which was furthest from the truth. Is she was just being crazy. It's funny what birds can do. But anyway, I ended up having to put her down with my husband, which is where these dogs should be. Anyway, we might be cutting this a little bit short because evidently he's not going to go downstairs without me. All right, so we're leaving that as it is. This is, you know, this is real life, everybody. All right, we're going to finish this card off. So we're coming back to our regular panel. I'm going to zoom out. All right, so using my trimmer, I'm going to take this down to 3 3/4 by 5. And so I'm taking about a 1/4 of an inch off of each side. This was an A2 panel. And the reason I'm doing that is just so that we don't have all the harsh lines. All right. And then we are going to bring in some other color. So I've got an A2 top folding panel already made. We are going to trim this down. This is the red. I've already done it 4 by 5 1/4. And then this is a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 panel. And I'm telling you all of this so that if I end up jumping off here because my dogs are bad, you guys can finish this card on your own. Here I go. So I put my card base down flat on my table, and I make sure I get a nice flush card. And then I bring in my stamp press to get good adhesion. So what that does is say that you haven't cut that straight. When you're done, you can trim that off, but you know that this top corner is flush. Then I have, this is double-sided adhesive. And let's see. measure this correctly. Yep. By 5. So this is going to be 3.5 by 4 3/4. I knew that was off a little bit. And so I buy these on Amazon. And I buy them like so that I can get 2 of these to a sheet. So I just put that down because I like dimension on my cards. Nancy. Who's Nancy? Where? So Nancy, I love the Copics, but they're out of my budget. Well, I get the same effect with Tombos. So Tombos are a water-based or dye-based marker. So you will not get the same flawless blend with the marker unless you have what they call their blender. So I will pull one of those out so you can see what it looks like. But there are websites that have Copics relatively inexpensive, and I can help you with that. But here is a blending pen. This is the N00 by Tombow, and it's a water-based. So with this, so pretend that that's your Tombow that's down. And this is an extra piece, Nancy, that I've got down here. So you would pick it up with this end, and you can kind of color it on with your colorless blender. But as you go down, you're getting that seamless blend. Do you see how that went from a dark to a light? And that's how you would do that with your Tombow markers. And then, so yeah, these are both Tombow blending brushes. So you would just kind of pick it up. And I realize I'm not coloring with Tombows, but they are not the same as alcohol markers. If you're looking for a entry-level alcohol marker, I've heard people say that they really like Ahoo. I personally have not tried them. They're not in my wheelhouse. I'm embarrassed to say that, but I have tried Olo and I have tried Copic. I also had Spectrum Noir, and I had really good luck with the Spectrum Noir. They've gotten better now that you can get refills, but when I had Spectrum Noir, it was really hard to find the refills, which is why I ultimately went with the Copics. That and Copics are the gold standard in alcohol markers. So I had popped that up, and then I always like red on my cards. I think I've told everybody that now. See, I've already made a huge mistake here. Did anybody catch it? I did not do a sentiment. So we are going to put this in here. We are going to pray that I get this done with a one-time shot. And now we're bringing in the hey girl, hey stamp set. So again, I try to leave my mistakes in so that everybody sees that we all do it. All right, so here we go. I am trying to find my VersaFine Clair. So I use VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink pretty much all the time for my projects because it's a nice dark black and it's crisp. All right, and I have a one-time shot at this because right now I have multiple layers on my card. So I'm putting that down and I'm praying that we get a nice impression. And hey girl, hey, we got it. All right, so let's get these cards made, and so you guys don't have to hear my crazy dog complain anymore. I'm going to use my Barely Art Glue. This is in the Prickley Pear store under Tools and Supplies. And again, that was just, you know, a shameless plug. Sorry. Sorry. Not sorry. Sorry. Alrighty. And we're going to go ahead and put this one down. And the reason I like wet glue is it's a little forgiving. You've got a minute before it adheres completely. So if you need to move stuff around or, you know, do something different, you definitely can. So I'm just extending this little hay bunch so it's kind of hanging off the card. And I'm going to put this big girl on the right side. Now, do you know why, anybody, why I'm putting her on the right side instead of the left? Go back to like high school when you're in like in the yearbook. I'm dating myself right now. If you have an item that's looking off the page, then it looks like it's not like focused in, it's like somewhere else, and it's not very focused. But if you have the thing that's looking to the left, looking to the right on the left hand side, he's looking into the center of the page. We need to get some glue on this section. And we're going to go from there. This dog has me frantic. Really does. And I'm using my big roll of tape here. And I'm going to cut this. You guys, I'm telling you, I'm a little embarrassed about my animals tonight. I hope that you guys are laughing. I'm wanting to cry. If I wasn't on the camera, I would probably already be in tears. And I don't know what to do for this little guy. He's very well loved. He's, I don't know. He's just not the center of attention right now. So that's what the problem is. And now this girl, I'm going to kind of put tilted on her side because I think she's just cute. But don't they just look like the happiest? Like they're like the best of friends. I mean, seriously. I love them. So, right. Still feel bad my cats dramatically meow more than I prefer. Yeah, you all are my family now. I mean, absolutely. I love y'all. I love the fact that you're putting up with me. So these are some gems that I had in my stash. And I always like pops of red. So here we go. I have red here. So I have like a triangle of red here. I'm also picking up the red in my matting. And so you're also seeing that I'm picking up several different browns. Okay. But I have this blue. What am I going to do with the blue? Well, we'll talk about that in a second. But first, I feel like these two kind of like love each other. I don't know. Like besties. That's my story. I'm picturing this as like this is me and Nerdy Crafter. Although I don't think we would both be sitting on a nest in like laying eggs. I don't know. I think we're past that age, but I'm pretending that it's like me and Nerdy Crafter. And she would totally be looking at me like, girl, what are you doing? You're a mess. So this is real life right here. For real. So back to what are we going to do about the blue? Because you know I need to tie in all of my colors. And another key thing is if you look at the color wheel, purple and red are opposite on the color wheel. So they're complementary colors. So red always makes purple pop. Okay? Actually, I think it's purple and orange. And I've got orange in there too. But they're close enough to each other that they're complementary colors. And that is how I make my card sign is I usually use a color wheel. And the next video I do, I will bring out a color wheel and we will talk about colors. Today was just kind of a mess. So I don't have a whole lot of aqua, or this color that I use for the sky. I don't have a lot of those color sequins, but what I am going to do is I'm going to bring in some navy blue. And I'm doing that in the rules of 3. So, and what do I mean by that? Meaning that the eye usually likes odd numbers. So I always kind of keep the eye moving. And then you always want to keep the eye moving towards the sentiment as well, so that that doesn't get missed out. So I am adding those, and you're seeing that I'm using multiple sizes, and that's just, you know, because that's what I like to do. And then I'm going to bring up about maybe 1 there. I don't know. We might bring in more than 1. Yeah, we are. You guys, I was so worried that my bird was going to scream all night. And here it was, my dogs. I like, life is just too much. It's a blast. But I'm honored that anybody would want to spend time with me on a Sunday night and put up with all of my makes and takes and mistakes. But this is my card. This is real life. And yeah, this is where we are. I love the way that this chicken wire looks. Now, if you don't have a chicken wire background, again, you could buy one at Prickley Pear. I mean, I'm going to put the shameless plug in. But there are a lot of stencils out there that you could use. But again, this was very simple ink blending. This was like easy blends for Copics. So, you know, just start where you're at. And Nancy, if you're still with me, if you want to talk to me about colors, or if you want to talk to Brennan about colors, definitely one of us can help you with that. Brennan's great at coloring. He's, I think, tried a lot of different mediums. I definitely have tried different mediums. So, you know, any questions that you have, or anything that any of us, either myself or anybody that's on the design team, please just go ahead and message one of us. We love talking to you guys, and we appreciate that you're even hanging out with us. So, all right, guys, I think that's it. If I don't have any questions, and I'm thinking, looks like the comments might be turned off again. All right, toodles, bye-bye.